Not a lot of love for data centers in the news recently. I mean, you know the hate is real when people start packing those local planning commission hearings. Those aren't fun. A couple of examples, the firm planning a multi-million-dollar data center project in Apex, they just pulled the plug because the community wasn't feeling it. They got some pushback. Plans in Edgecombe County, they face similar strain. Chatham County actually put a moratorium on data centers. In Person County, though, Microsoft might get their way. The tech company bought 1,300 acres in 2024, and this month, they opened permits. That clears the way for construction. But what even is a data center? Well, it's the cloud, or a part of the cloud. It's like a single raindrop in the cloud, a computer chip in the mainframe, a neuron in the giant brain that's running the internet, running services for Amazon, Google, Meta, Microsoft, and the like. It is the thing that populates your videos on your TikTok For You page, suggests what you should buy on Amazon or what you should watch on Netflix. It introduces you to people you may know on Facebook. It comes up with the ETA on Google Maps. It sets a price for your Uber ride. It stores your family photos. When you ask ChatGPT if you should be worried about that mole, the answer comes from a data center. And if you've ever wondered what it looks like to combine Dan Haggerty and Gerald Owens into a super anchor, well, here you go. And Google Gemini needed a data center for this. And all of this stuff happens billions of times a day. And that takes a lot of hardware and a lot of power. And that costs money. So tonight, let's go in depth, because whether or not a data center lands in your backyard, we will all pay the price of AI. So this is a data center right here, a massive windowless building packed with servers. They run 24 hours a day, 365 days a year, and they can use insane amounts of electricity. The big ones, like the one Microsoft wants to build in Person County, can use as much electricity as 500,000 homes. So to put it another way, about as much juice as the entire city of Raleigh. Every home, business, school, hospital, streetlight, and crosswalk, all coming from one building. And they're creating headlines like this: AI data centers are sending power bills soaring. A viewer named Sanford wants to know why. He said, please explain why a new data center's power consumption would make my rates go up. So Sanford, this is a great place to start the conversation, and we should begin it with this. Only part of your power bill is tied to what you actually use. I mean, let's look at my most recent bill as an example. About 70% of my bill comes from the amount of electricity I use, 646 kilowatt hours at about 12 cents each. That comes out to roughly 81 bucks. But here's the part where a lot of people get confused. Yes, you can save money by using less power, fewer of those kilowatt hours, but the real number to watch is that 12-cent number, because bundled inside that is the price of the entire system. The power plants, the poles, the lines, substations, past construction projects, future projects, returns for investors, and more. It is all bundled into that one rate. Every customer on the grid, you, me, the place you work, your local grocery store, everyone shares the cost of that infrastructure. So when a new data center needs as much electricity as an entire city, we are going to need more infrastructure. The question is, how much more? Enter the North Carolina Energy Policy Task Force. It's a group of about 30 people from different sectors: lawmakers, utilities, tech reps from Amazon, Google, and Toyota, some academic folks, and environmental groups. They released a report last month. And on page 30, it says, there is not reliable public data for the total number and size of existing and proposed data centers. That is remarkable. I mean, how do you plan for something without knowing what to plan for? On page 9, it lays out Duke's forecast for energy load in the next 15 years. They project growth between 16 and 60%. First of all, that is a huge range. I mean, on the low end, we will more than double the growth that we've seen in the last 20 years. On the high end, we blow it out of the water. 9 times as much growth in a fraction of the time. But you have to think, can we attribute all of that growth to data centers? Well, let's look at page 10, where it says data centers account for 80% of the projected energy demand, indicating that data centers have uniquely high energy needs compared to traditional industries. 80%. This could be the single biggest need from a single industry in the history of the world. And it's why President Trump said this during the State of the Union.
Many Americans are also concerned that energy demand from AI data centers could unfairly drive up their electric utility bills. Tonight, I'm pleased to announce that I have negotiated the new Ratepayer Protection Pledge. You know what that is? We're telling the major tech companies that they have the obligation to provide for their own power needs.
And the tech companies are listening. Microsoft said about its Person County plans, quote, Microsoft will pay its own way to ensure its development does not increase electricity prices, which sounds great. But what does that mean exactly, to pay its own way? Well, typically, that means it will pay for the power it uses and for the wires and substation connected to its facility, not the whole grid. Think of it this way. If you build a house, you pay for the driveway. But if traffic from that house means we need wider highways, well, who pays for that? We all do. Now, Duke Energy tells us, look, don't worry, this could actually be a good thing. It could save you money in the long run. But how exactly would that work? Well, a data center will be paying for huge amounts of electricity, and that does spread costs out for things like upgrades. I mean, imagine it like a gym membership. If the gym suddenly adds thousands of new members and they all pay full price, the gym can buy new equipment without raising everyone's dues. I mean, that's the theory anyway. But here's the risk. What if some of those new members cancel their membership? What if we upgrade the grid, we spend billions of dollars, and then demand for data centers starts to drop off? And this could happen because tech companies, they don't want to pay those huge electricity bills either. They're working on things like better chips, better cooling systems, smarter software. If that happens, we could end up paying for a grid that was built bigger than what we needed. Now, Duke has some safeguards, signing long-term contracts, taking deposits, setting minimum power agreements. So if these companies do scale back, there will be consequences. Now, none of this means that your bill is going to suddenly skyrocket. But what it does mean is that we are in uncharted territory in more ways than one. Because this isn't just about building data centers. It's about what those data centers are building. For most people, when they think of this sort of thing, they think about talking to Alexa or getting recipes from Google, homework help from ChatGPT, funny videos on TikTok, or instantly creating an image born from your wildest imagination. But that is not what is driving this boom. AI is the foundation of advancements in everything: corporate efficiency, defense, finance, healthcare, media. These data centers are the infrastructure for the next great industrial shift. Some economists estimate that AI will reshape or eliminate tens of millions of jobs worldwide: lawyers, accountants, coders, writers, journalists, the people who once felt insulated from automation. I mean, last week, we ran a story about Amazon hiring more delivery drivers here in our area. And in that same newscast, another story about Waymo bringing self-driving cars to Charlotte. Think about that. We're hiring more drivers today while also building the technology that could one day make them obsolete. That's why this story is so important, because it's not only about how much you pay, but what you're paying for. Let me know what you think. Tell me your thoughts. Email 7pm@WRAL.com. There is more to this story. Of course, data centers don't just need power, they need water too, lots of it. So tell me what is on your mind, and we'll go in depth.